personal inner happiness. Sometimes we look everywhere, including social media, to find ways to uplift, the way we're feeling inside if we're not happy with who we are. Or we might grasp for, well, maybe if I buy this, it'll make me happy. But you know what? True happiness comes from inside of you. And if you're someone who's seeking ways to become happier and love who you are, that is what this conversation is about. Hello, I'm Tanya Otterstein-Liehs. Welcome to Mindful Conversations. With me today, I have Deborah, and we're going to explore and dive deeper into this topic. So hello, Deborah, and welcome. I'm so looking forward to having this conversation with you today.
Thanks so much for having me. Me too. I love this stuff.
Yeah, right? Because it's that journey that all of us are on overall to be happier with who we are and to find a way to see that journey of life as one to celebrate, right? So before we dive into, can you tell our listeners today a little bit about, who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am a Reiki master teacher. I'm also a certified life coach, and I co-authored a book a couple years ago as well. So, how I got started into this, I think I was one of those people too who, you know, I'm having a bad day, so go have a glass of wine or
Yeah.
go shopping for another pair of shoes and looking for gratification everywhere else. And it wasn't until my family sold our company where I was working that I went on a self-love retreat to Bali. And I came back, and I just knew that the corporate world wasn't for me anymore. And I really dove into working with my own mentors and seeing my own transformation and how powerful the mind is, and really when you can find happiness in yourself and come from a place of gratitude and appreciation and everything, your world can transform so quickly.
And, during that, I'll say self-exploration journey
Mhm.
where you mentioned that your mindset shifted, what's a valuable lesson that that light bulb went off and it's a message that you felt? And what is that message that you can share with other women?
Yeah, gosh, there is so many light bulb moments really when you go through, like when you decide to dive into either self-love or mindfulness or just
Yeah.
awareness of the power of the thoughts that you're thinking. I really was in victim mode. Like I would blame everybody, my ex-husband, you know, anything around me, not to take responsibility. So I think the first part was I'm owning responsibility for my life and my happiness. And I think that was the first trigger, was like, holy cow, I'm really playing victim mode into, things like 20 years ago,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
and you carry it with you, and it's
You
really
do.
starting to dive deep into your relationship that you have with yourself, and having those uncomfortable moments of realization of, wow, I've been carrying this for so long. Wow, I really need to heal this in order to move forward. So I think responsibility was probably the first light bulb moment. There's been a lot since then, but when you recognize that your thoughts, your behaviors, your patterns, the words that you tell yourself are all related to the results that you're getting currently, and that you have the absolute opportunity to change any circumstance in your life at any time.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned that you were not realizing that you were finding excuses or blaming everybody else for how you were feeling, right?
Mhm.
And that so many times you hear women realize that, they're always blaming someone else. They're always finding excuses when in reality it's okay, what's inside of me that's not letting me move forward? That's not letting me move beyond however I was hurt in the end, or how
Mhm.
wherever, people, however they affected me. But the fact that you came to that realization, because it's that realization where we begin to acknowledge that, okay, what is this huge roadblock
Mhm.
that's preventing me to move forward, to become the woman I want to find that, that inner peace, that inner happiness. And I love that you had this moment and all these things came to life and you became unstuck and you said, you know what, that was my past and that was whoever, but now I'm going to move forward and enjoy this journey and realize that I do have that power within myself to be happy with who I am. So I love how, you shared that with everybody out there today. And as far as making self-care, part of your daily routine, I'll say daily routine because we
Yeah.
need to realize that doesn't need to be this one-time thing. It's these little simple steps you take every day. And what are those self-care routines that you include into your daily life, Deborah?
So meditation is one of them, journaling, exercise, getting my body moving,
Yeah,
and gratitude are
yeah,
all things that are really important to me. And I know that if I don't do those things for myself, I'm not showing up as the best version of myself for my clients, for my family. So I can't help other people if I'm not taking care of myself. And
yeah,
you can't operate from a glass half empty perspective. So
yeah.
I try and fill my own cup so I can fill the cups of others too.
Yeah. I love that you realize that nobody else can do it for you or make you do it, right? It's the right realization that you've had that, A, B, and C, I know fills my cup. It makes me feel empowered, uplifts me, brings a smile to my face, brings peace, and actually keeps me centered,
Yeah.
with what I'm feeling inside. And I know I'm a better person for myself, for my family, when I do these things, when I give myself permission to allow to do A, B, and C because so many women think they can't make themselves a priority or oh, I can't do this because I have to do this. So I love that you've realized that no, I'm doing this for myself because there's something magical that happens within me. And part of that I'm hearing meditation and moving your body. So are those some of the things that get you motivated to get up in the morning? Because some days, we wake up and it's like, oh my gosh, right? I mean, we all have those days, right?
For sure.
So yeah, so what motivates you to wake up in the morning and maybe you'll have those feelings, but it's like, no, I'm getting up and what is that motivation that has you looking forward to the day?
Sure. I think for me, it's just I love what I do. I love helping transform. I love seeing the transformation in my clients. I love, you know, helping people feel better about themselves, whether it's an energy treatment, whether it's any program that I'm doing, but just seeing the changes in people and watching people have their own maybe aha moments. That's what I love to do.
Yeah, aha moments.
Everybody has,
That's
and it's all
yeah,
different for everybody else, right? Like
yes,
your self care, I listed a few things that I do. Even if you get one of those, even if
yeah,
you pick the one thing, like get up and dance in the morning, if
yeah,
that's your thing, it doesn't have to be difficult. I think a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh, I have to allot like hours to get into this groove," but it doesn't have to be. It could be a
no,
5 minute mindfulness breathing techniques,
mhm,
whatever that is for you.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah, it's so important, right? Because you're so correct when you say women, people think that, oh, I have to do all these things, but it is so simple, right? And you mentioned breathing, and I love that because I've talked about that before that, if I'm somewhere and I can feel the energy around me really chaotic, it's like, okay, I get in my own zone. People have no idea I'm just, focusing right now on my breath, and that in itself helps kind of keep you balanced, keep you calm, keep you like, okay, I'm not going to absorb this craziness that's happening
Yes.
around me, right? Or even then,
Yes.
as you're doing work, let's say, or before you're perhaps working with a client, just kind of, okay, I'm just going to sit here for a moment, just do those slow inhales and exhales, and just doing those 3 times. It's amazing how you just feel this calmness come
Mhm.
about you, right? And it's not complicated. It takes like 10, 20, 30 seconds. And we all have 30 seconds, right?
There's 30 seconds for anything.
Exactly, exactly.
I think it's setting intentions too, like being
Yeah,
intentional about how you want that conversation to go, how you want that next. I think Abraham Hicks calls it segment intention. So every moment of your day that you're doing something different is a new segment, and you get to
yeah,
refocus, regroup, and set a new intention if maybe something didn't go necessarily the way that you wanted it
yeah,
to.
yeah, right. Every day is a new day.
Yeah.
Right, stop focusing, like as you mentioned at the beginning, stop focusing on that past, right?
Yeah.
That can be such a burden and it can be such a heavy load. And when you finally release it, it's amazing how your world opens up and it's like, wow, I didn't realize I could be this happy, right? So it's
Yeah.
great. And with that, that happiness, looking forward, looking to the past, often we're met with challenges. So if you're comfortable with sharing one of your biggest challenges that you're facing right now.
I like the word opportunity
Mm,
versus challenge, because challenge
yeah,
sounds like it's insurmountable maybe.
right.
Um, yeah, I guess a current personal challenge for me right now is my boyfriend has had some health related issues going on this summer. So just trying to help him navigate that and kind of hold the focus to the wanted versus the unwanted, and trying to keep his mindset, our mindset,
Mhm.
focused on the desired results, and
Yeah,
then just navigating the schedule with different treatments and stuff, and
yeah,
trying to remain flexible. And I used to, in the corporate life, have to like this, and so I've had to learn to adapt a little bit. I've had to take some time away from my business as I help him kind of navigate some of this stuff. But it's we're always in a state of motion, and I just kind of keep him, the vision of him as the perfect healthy person, and yeah, it's one
yeah.
day at a time.
Yes, one day at a time, right? And something that popped out is because it's so real that how you say in the corporate world and even people outside the corporate world, they find everything has to be so regimented. It has to be like this and this and this. But the fact that you mentioned when you allow that flexibility to be a part of it, you realize that, okay, if it doesn't need to be like this, if I allow flexibility, there's more flow, there's
Hmm.
more opportunities for things to happen, right? When you feel that it has to be like this, you get frustrated,
Yeah,
and that whole emotional roller coaster begins, that frustration, that negativity. But when you allow yourself to be open and be more flexible, then I find things happen. Maybe not as fast as you wanted to,
sure.
but right? But it
Absolutely.
happens. And you mentioned that being open-minded is so important as well, right? When we're open-minded to new suggestions, when we're open-minded to different healing opportunities, then that
Absolutely.
journey does happen. I mean, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be curves and bends, but taking that day by day, taking the little steps, knowing a little step is a huge accomplishment. And I'm wondering your thoughts on that too. I'm going to kind of open the door
Mm,
here, Deborah, that
sure.
we forget to look at the baby steps as success, because if you didn't do it before and it didn't work before whatever you were doing, but now it is, do you find as well, Deborah, that is reason to celebrate?
Oh, I think there's, for some people who are maybe going through a tough time, getting out of bed and washing your hair is a reason to celebrate.
Mhm,
Or doing that one thing for yourself is also a reason to celebrate. And I think the
mhm,
more that you celebrate those small steps along the way,
mhm.
it's more about the journey. It's not about the destination, because once you get to the destination, whatever that is for you, whether it's a goal or whatever that is for you, you're going to set a new goal. So it's enjoying the steps along the way, and being appreciative of those moments along the way. I think
Yeah,
that's the journey of life, is to find those moments in every
yeah.
moment, and it's not necessarily meeting a specific end result all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And it comes back down to gratitude as well, right? When you
Absolutely.
celebrate those little moments, not only your big moments, when you have that daily gratitude, it can be a simple thing like, I'm so grateful I'm alive today and get to live another day. Or, I'm so grateful I can feel the wind on my face, or see the sunrise, see the sunset, and celebrate that small thing, celebrate the simple things. That inner joy starts to become a part of your life. And you
Mhm.
find as well, Deborah, by having that gratitude, by seeing life as a journey now, that things that were potentially the devastating or the worst thing ever before in the past,
For sure.
right? That now that
Absolutely.
you change your mindset and you say, well, that happened, but you know what? this is, a great thing, or what could have seemed awful isn't that bad anymore because you realize there's so many things in your life that are
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's those moments, maybe I don't know, the person giving you your coffee wasn't that nice, or somebody cuts you off in traffic. Like
Yeah.
that can just make some people just irate. And then don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, it maybe used to be, but now I'm like, well, so from that perspective of somebody maybe giving me my coffee and they're not that friendly,
Yeah.
I'm like double friendly back because I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe they're just having a bad day.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe you don't know their situation. So I just like offer that extra, or that person that cut me off in traffic, like they must really need to get somewhere a lot quicker than I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe in the course of that, maybe it's preventing me from an accident, or maybe I have to go a detour this way because of it.
Yeah.
But if you look for like the silver lining of those little situations,
Yeah.
maybe that was an opportunity for me to be extra kind to that server,
Mhm.
and they will get a benefit from that I won't ever see. But maybe she'll be like, oh my God, that person was so nice to me.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Yeah, it's so true, right? You can make someone's day. It made me think of, I think it was back in August or something. I stopped quick off at a coffee shop and grabbed myself a tea and something else, and grabbed something for my husband and kids. And they were like amazing customer service, amazing, like friendly. And, I told them, I said, by the way, I just want you to know that your customer service is amazing and you're friendly. And like, thank you so much for serving me. And it's like, they've never had this compliment. Like, they were kind of stunned at first. They're like, oh, you're welcome. It's like, no, seriously. They're like, well, thank you. Right. So it was the simplest gesture, but I really felt it important to share it because as you mentioned, you don't always come across that. And they're probably never, maybe like it's been a long time since they've been a compliment, but knowing that you said that you want to share that, it makes their day, right? Because sometimes they're just in workflow and they're not thinking, but it was the fact that it was the customer service that was exceptional from them. It needed to be that simple gratitude. And you said yourself that making their day, and maybe they had a really crappy customer before, but they
you
stayed
made
in
up
that.
for it.
Yeah, and they stayed in that, like, oh wow, thanks, and that will probably continue forth. And it's a simple gesture, I think, that we forget. We may think it's the simplest thing, but it can be make a huge impact on
Absolutely.
somebody else's life, right? And as we look around, there's many things in the world right now that could be not so positive.
Hmm.
And whether it be per people, whether it be the world around us, and something I do, someone asked me the other day, I shop at a Mennonite, I don't want to call it store, but a Mennonite farm, and get my poultry and eggs from them because it's free run and hormone free. And she said to me, she goes, so, do you watch the news? What's happening? I said, you know what? I tend not to because it's very negative. And I don't want to be drawn into that. So, what helps you, Deborah, maintain your positive attitude, your positive mindset when everything around can be on the opposite spectrum?
For sure. I don't watch the news either, for that exact reason.
Yeah,
I have never turned on the news and saw
yeah,
anything positive, really. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, I guess I do my self-care routine. I think that keeps me pretty grounded. I think that I also go by the motto that everything is always working out for me.
mm,
So even if there's something that's maybe not exactly the way I would like it to be, I just trust in that it's always going to work out the way it's supposed to. So um, it is hard not to take on energy because I do energy healing, so I am very effective. But I do
yeah,
try and really, when I'm out in public or in a where there's a lot of people, um, I really try and well, keep my vibration high going in, but kind of surround myself in like a protective light,
yes,
almost like a
yeah,
bubble.
yeah,
So any negative Nellies can't
yeah,
get in. But yeah, I think it's just intention that when I go places, I'm gonna meet the right people or run into the positive people. And yeah, it's not always easy, though. It is very
Yeah.
difficult, especially in like the times that we're going through right now,
Yeah.
to always remain that. So, am I always up here? No, but I have the tools in my toolbox to realign myself when I need to.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, tools into toolbox. And I'm so with you when when you said, kind of feel that energy. I do that too. I'm very intuitive myself, so it's like, okay, here goes the white bubble.
That's right.
And yeah, and then sometimes you can feel someone draining you, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to kind of refocus and redo my bubble here and just deflect
Yeah.
any negativity that's coming with me. So I am so with you there. And that's why I find that the power of nature, right? The power of nature is amazing, just to, even if it's a walk, right? And
Absolutely.
there's trees around, just being in that moment and taking in that amazing energy and the water. I really highly recommend to people that they go for a walk, even if it's around the block, and just, listen to the sights, feel the sounds around you, hear the sounds around you, especially the birds, feel the wind, because that simple walk will really help shift and get you back into a place of, I'll say, calmness, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think when you're in nature too, if you're having a hard time quieting your mind or
Yeah.
like not focusing on, like, go to your senses. What am I
Yeah.
hearing? What am I
Yeah.
smelling? What am I feeling right now? If you touch the bark of a tree or something, it's
Yeah.
put your, you know, get grounded and really take your socks off and
Yeah.
your bare feet in the
Yeah.
grass. Like, that's so grounding. And
Yeah.
go to your senses for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I say do it year round, because here in Canada, you're in Ontario as well. We have lots of
We
snow
do.
sometimes and cold, but yeah, get outside regardless. I always say there's nothing as wonderful as in a winter walk on a hike. We do the Bruce Trail a lot, and just, there's something amazing about the Bruce Trail in the fall, the spring, the summer, but then the winter, it's just, you got to experience it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, Deborah, there's some final questions I want to ask you. We've learned a little bit about, you and your journey in life, and how you, I'll say, hold people's hand on their wellness journey and their mindset journey of self-love and self-appreciation. So, as far as quotes, we all have quotes that we tend to keep in the back of our mind, or we look back on now again. So, what is one quote that you tend to keep in your heart?
Yeah, I do have a quote, and this was when I think was first going through my separation and divorce. I found this quote, and I love it.
Mm.
So it's, to be a star, you must shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of darkness. For that is when stars shine the brightest.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it is sometimes hard to get out that dark zone, but realizing that there are the stars above you. Love it. Love it.
yeah.
Yeah. And as far as advice, you've shared wonderful advice today, but what's maybe something that just came to you right now? It's like, oh yeah, there's one more, piece of advice, or share my thoughts that you can with the listeners today.
I would say your current reality is not an indicator or predictor of your future, and that if there's any situation in your life, you can change it. And once you understand the power of the mind and the power of your thoughts, and become more aware of your thought patterns, you have the and it won't even take that long, actually.
Yeah.
Once you become aware of it and change your vibration and how you show up, things, like, it's like magic. It'll
Yeah.
magically come to you. All
Yeah.
the right people, all the right resources
Yeah.
will come to whatever you're trying to transform in your life.
Yeah. Something I, will often say to clients that are stuck, I'll say, I want you every day just to write something down, and how you feel, and what made you feel that way, or who made you feel that way. And I say, I want you to do it for 7 days. And they all of a sudden they start to see this pattern happen. And seeing that pattern happen, it's kind of, the door starts to open. And that's okay, let's move forward out of this pattern and do one baby step to get you beyond, this roadblock. So yeah,
Yeah.
very, very nice knowing that where you are right now, you have the ability in you, you have the tools in you, and you have the power in you. Now it's time to allow yourself to make it happen, right? So if this was the last day of your life and you
I
cannot include your family
know
in
this
this
is
one,
a tough one.
what is one thing, Deborah, that you would be grateful for?
Oh my goodness. One thing. That's a very tough question.
Yeah,
Um, Honestly, like I think, like I said, I just keep growing and getting better. So all the people and opportunities and experiences that I'm attracting into my life now, and the lessons that I've learned along the way, I think. I think all of it. I don't think there's any one thing because there's been so many different people that have contributed to my growth and success, and I don't think I could just say one person, but certainly the journey of mindfulness and awareness has been a transforming light in my life. So I think that's what it would be. And my
very.
dog. And my dog.
Of course, our dogs always bring us joy, right? You come in and they're always happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's a final question that I do want to ask you that you weren't aware of, but we are all given advice by people, or maybe we've heard on a podcast. We thought, oh, that's really good. So, what's a piece of advice someone has given you that you're like, wow, that's a really good piece of advice?
Oh my goodness. When it comes to driving, my grandma always said, "Don't pump the brakes before you go over the train tracks." But no, that's not it. I think one that actually came to me while you were talking is like nobody can make you feel anyway, and when you recognize that you're allowing or giving your power away to other people, and you rein in that inner power. Um, it changes it can change any circumstance, and I think I fell victim to that a lot previously. Before doing this work, I was giving away my power to everyone, and once you harness your own power, it's quite incredible how people treat you differently,
Yeah.
because you no longer will accept, or that you no longer will tolerate
Yeah.
certain behaviors or being treated a certain way. So I think that that was one for me that really came out of some mentorship, is nobody can make you feel a certain
Yeah.
way. So, and if you
Nice.
are feeling a certain way, you can certainly investigate why you're feeling that
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
and that's an opportunity to heal. So I think
It's
that would
kind
be
of,
it.
yeah, kind of comes down to the power of the word no.
Hmm.
Allow yourself to say no to what doesn't feel right or who doesn't feel right. And also, just taking that moment, like you said, to sit back and say, okay, this journey, I can continue here or I can move forward from here, right? And even I think that ties well into negative people. There's often, people do not want to say goodbye to negative people, or do not want to release negative people, or feel they need to be a part of their life. But if all you feel is negativity from them, and every time you're around them, they drain you, then let them go, release them. And sometimes maybe it's an immediate family member, and you can't because they're a part of your life. But I always say, right, put that bubble around them and remind yourself beforehand how you're going to feel, and then don't feel yourself getting pulled into that, maybe that negative conversation that might happen. So, yeah. Well, Deborah, I want to thank you very much for your time today, sharing your thoughts and your wisdom. I think it's really, or I know it's very important, what you talked about. And there's somebody else that's going to listen to this podcast and realize, wow, yeah, I can move forward. I have the tools inside of me. So thank you very much again. And for everybody here today that's listening or watching this recording, I want to say thank you so much. And remember, when you go to bed tonight, think about the best thing that happened. And when you wake up in the morning, either feel it or send out what you are grateful for. This is Tanya Otterstein-Liehs saying, have a wonderful day. Love who you are and deserve what you need. Take care now. Bye bye.